Project Hotline, get our capital update. It's a unique one, really, this week, and a difficult one at the same time. We welcome to the show Senator Paul Cicarella. How have you been?
I've been well. Thank you for having me, Vinnie.
I have to be honest, got some stuff going on in my personal life last night. I trust Adam Lujo. You know, he's our liaison here, and he always sets me up with my capital update. He sent that you were coming on, and I'm looking forward to it. And he said, you know, you guys can talk about Tristans Law. And it was a loss in my family this week. It's taken up a lot of my headspace. So I looked, it was lost on me what Tristans Law was. And I saw this morning elsewhere, I kind of put two and two together. It's the little boy in Cheshire. I covered that story here, who lost his life. Just getting ice cream. It's interesting that the theme song to the top of the hour here, because those kids singing sounds like the "We All Scream for Ice Cream" song. So it's kind of chilling. What exactly went wrong there that a law could resolve? I've got to ask the honest question, sir, with all due respect. What went so wrong there that a law could remedy?
So one of the biggest things prior to getting into that I talked about when I was running is to not make laws just out of emotion that don't make sense. And I made sure I really stood up to that and held that strong when I proposing bills. When I was asked how many bills I want to propose, what do I want to propose, and I think I even said it on your show early on, I don't want to just propose bills to propose them. So that's a great question. First, there's a lot of states around Connecticut that have these laws that protect not only the children and the patrons getting the ice cream, but the surrounding drivers and the operators of these ice cream truck businesses. And Connecticut just doesn't have any of them. And I realized this prior to this terrible incident that happened to Tristan in Cheshire. He's a Wallingford resident. His family lives in Wallingford. But there was also an incident on Helen Street in Hamden. And in my other business, as you know, it's an investigation agency and consulting business, and we work a lot with attorneys. This incident where this little girl was injured, very bad traumatic brain injury. We were asked to look into this case a little bit, and I was mind blown to realize there is zero litigation or any laws out there, and they're common sense laws. There's school bus safety laws in place in transportation where there's equipment that's there to save and protect the children, and there is none in place for these ice cream trucks. So this poor innocent child and family on a fun day, last day of school, father's birthday, the parents were there, they were supervised, ice cream truck, bells are ringing, they run out to get the ice cream, and you know, just because, and again, from speaking with Tristan's parents, they're a responsible young boy, not impulsive, just happened to be so close to the ice cream truck when walking back that there's no time to see the car coming around the corner of the truck and struck Tristan.
But
it's just terrible.
Wouldn't it's every at least every parent's nightmare. I'd like to think it's just a nightmare. You don't have to have kids for it to just be a nightmarish scenario. I just don't know though. But I mean, vehicular manslaughter is right. I mean, wouldn't that be vehicular homicide? Is that not applicable here? I don't understand the ice cream truck, and I'm just asking to be clear here because I tell you the truth. I believe our punishments never fit the crime anymore. They just never fit the crime anymore. And I'm sure in an instance like this, more often than not, I'd like to think anyway, the driver is like, I'm haunted for the rest of my life. I'm haunted. But at the same time, I'd have to say to them, you shouldn't have been. That ice cream truck should have been a red flag to you, whether you're 18 and just got your license, whether you're 40. That should have been, and you got to carry. I'm sorry, the punishment's going to be severe, and you got to, in addition to being haunted, you're spending a lot of time behind bars. So I don't understand why it's not. No, that's vehicular homicide. Excessive. Was it excessive?
So let me have to just to say two things. and the advocacy that they put into this and to try to put some good through such a terrible incident. She reached out, Mrs. Cicarella reached out to so many legislators, and I think that's what allowed this to move forward so quickly with so much bipartisanship support. When I proposed this and put it forward and reached out to senators, representatives on both sides, it was overwhelmingly supported. And
as it should be.
Spoke about they decided to fast track it before the summer months. But the biggest thing to what you were saying is, even though this incident happened and a car struck their child, the family talked about how much they feel for this young child that was driving the car. It was a new driver, and maybe he was going a little too fast, and that is a problem. Everybody that lives on, back roads realize that we all go a little too fast. But one of the things the child said, or the teenager said in this incident was, I didn't know, I didn't realize.
I'm sure. I am sure.
Being a little older, maybe we would be a little bit more knowledgeable. He's like, they didn't tell me that in driving school. There's no laws. And I'm not an attorney, so I can't speak to the laws as far as vehicular homicide. But from my experience in my business, somebody passed a stop sign on a school bus and did that. They broke a law and then hurt somebody and caused serious injury and or death. I think that would be the thing that would trigger some type of a crime. In both of the cases that I'm aware of and involved in some capacity, there was no arrest. And I believe in the one in Hamden, there wasn't even a ticket. And speed was a factor, I believe in both, based upon the speed limits on those streets. Yeah. And they were more of rule than accident. And I think that right there is the compounding element that would make people be held accountable and or warned in driving school or wherever else it may need to be, and bring attention that you do have to slow down. You have to use common sense. You see a bull roll down the road, a kid may be found. You see an ice cream truck, there's probably going to be some kids running. We have to slow down.
Yeah. This is so interesting. Again, we're on with Senator Paul Cicarella. We're talking about Tristans Law, the proposed bill. I've got a daughter in driving school right now, and I got to ask her if that's been brought. Have ice cream trucks been brought up? Interesting things are brought up, and a lot goes into the head, gets crammed into that. She's a nervous driver. Paul, I'll tell you the truth. When I take her out, she doesn't have that confidence yet. I wouldn't say screamed at her a few times, but you're teaching a kid to drive. It's like you want your wits about you. It's an interesting question. Have you brought up, like we all know what to do with because school buses are, because that stop sign comes out. Does the ice cream man, does something come out of the truck that says kid? Doesn't something get extended on the truck? I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah, so most newer trucks are outfitted with those safety measures because a lot of other states require them to be there. In both of these incidents, they had the protective equipment, which is the stop sign, and sometimes they have that front bar, which in Tristan's case, it would have been very useful. It would have gave Tristan time to see the vehicle coming. It stops you, like in the school bus, the front of the school bus. It makes you have to walk around the bus, giving you the time to look right and left to make sure it's safe. Yeah. And both of these had that, and they just were not used. And again, in both cases, the drivers didn't think they had to use them. It wasn't dark out or whatever the case was. They just don't use them. So again, speaking of common sense, just think you have a young daughter. Imagine your young child driving, and it's a fear of mine. What was that movie that just came out, a TV show, where the judge's kid hit a pedestrian or struck somebody and took off? I mean, I couldn't even watch it. It gave me anxiety.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't figure the name of it. You did change my tune a little bit in there because I'd like to think now, young driver or older driver, the punishment needs to fit the crime. You should have known better seeing the ice cream truck. Then you remind me, as a new driver, I'm thinking of my daughter. She does panic still a bit, and I don't know that she's been told. It's one of those things, Paul, I feel like, where it's like, come on, common sense. You saw an ice cream truck, there's kids there. You were just one of those kids. So you changed my tune a little bit because this kid's got to be broken by what they did and the guilt of it. Were they told and made sure, like ice cream truck, come to a complete stop. Wait for that thing to drive away.
Yeah, or at least reduce your speed.
Yeah.
At least slow enough to know that it's safe to proceed, or stop And then don't wait like a school bus. I mean, again, we have to be realistic. But if we have to bring awareness on both sides, and like I said, it doesn't only just protect the young child or patron of that truck, it protects the people driving around them as well.
Yeah. No, you know, it's interesting to hear you start this whole thing with, I said I wasn't going to, all bills based on emotion, this and that. But then when you peel back layers and you discover, okay, wait, we got this for school bus, we got this for this, we have nothing in place here. All of a sudden, Tristans Law just is sort of a head-scratching, wait, what? What goes on here? I'm going to actually ask the question, bring the question around to my man Brandon Dufour from the Next Street. That's like the best driving school in the state. I sat in on a few classes that my daughter was in, and they get into the nooks and crannies of driving. I mean, it's talking. It's a lot of information goes into these young heads. But I sat in on a few of them, and I could see them bringing up, what do you do in this instance? So some of the questions I've heard my daughter get asked are like, wow, that's you're going deep there. Are you going to remember that? Just yesterday, while driving my daughter, I gave her a tip. I saw something. I'm like, did you see how I saw that car? And then he disappeared on the inside lane, the opposite side of the road. I didn't see him anymore. But if I hung that left, I knew he was coming because I saw him before he disappeared. If you hung that left, we would have been hit by that car. So just a lot getting stuffed into the head. But I'll bet you Brandon from Next Street will say, each of our drivers, they bring up every situation imaginable. I'll get that answer for you. There's your capital update. Tough stuff. We will take a break.